Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Now listen, I have an idea about Bitcoin, and I want to know from you guys if it's actually feasible, if they could actually do this, what I'm going to talk about. But I'll get to it in a minute. But what I'm going to talk about is Bitcoin's on a tear. It's the only financial asset out there that really makes any sense right now at this moment. I mean, it's just crazy. The world's gone crazy. Everything's gone upside down. In an upside-down world, anything can happen. And yeah, $1 million Bitcoin can happen. Because there's no place else for them to put their money. Really, bonds aren't giving any yield. And your stock market, has reached its peak pretty much. It's starting to roll over, and they're getting ready to come out with this new Fed coin business. Okay? These new central bank digital currencies that are coming next year, they're going to take money printing to a whole new height. This is modern monetary theory. And, we have seen cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, since its beginning until now, it's been on what's called an exponential. It's going up in price exponentially. Yes, it has times where it peaks and falls off, but it goes back up again. And generally when it goes back up, it goes higher than it ever was. Now listen, Bitcoin right now is pretty much at its all-time peak of what it was back in 2017. Except there's a difference right now. Back in 2017, the peak of the bubble, and it didn't last very long at these prices, when it got up to these prices back in 2017. And it was obvious to everybody that it was in a bubble of enthusiasm. And the bubble popped. But right now, I don't think we're in a bubble. I think we're maintaining these prices now. This is just only 2 or 3 short years later. I think we're actually maintaining these prices with more stability rather than Bitcoin wanting to go down. People are looking at it and saying, hey, it's going to go up higher. Back before, when it went up to 20,000 or close to 20,000, people were saying, oh my gosh, it's going to fall, it's going to crash. Now they're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? It's got room to rise higher than where it is right now at this peak. So it's got more energy behind it. You just wait until you see the amount of energy that it gets behind it when we move into the central bank digital currencies. And so what are they going to do? They're going to issue out the central bank digital currency, and they are going to basically force you into it. Okay, you get your money in the bank. Bank goes under because banks are becoming more and more superfluous at this point in time. They're not needed anymore. Banks start going under. Your bank goes under. What do? They bail out the bank using central bank digital currency. Basically what they do is they say, okay, we will make you whole. We will say, Mr. Jones, you've got $100,000 in the bank, they say. We will make you whole with central bank digital currency. But first you got to sign these papers. And then we'll transfer the money. And you'll still have your $100,000, but in the central bank digital currency. And the money you had in the bank before, oh, sorry, we need that to bail out the bank. The bank gets that. And so, basically, I can see that happening. Basically, a forced transfer over into the central bank digital currency for people who have money in the bank. Now, what about people out there who don't have money in the bank? People who are living from hand to mouth, people who have lost their jobs and stuff. Well, they're going to send them the central bank digital currency, too. So it's going to be a panacea for the people, the central bank digital currency. But at the same time, that's when we're going to see our inflation come. Okay? This is rocket fuel for cryptocurrency. So we're going to see, during that period in time, while the central bank digital currency is hyperinflating the dollar, we're going to see a massive move, I think, into cryptocurrencies, namely Bitcoin. And yeah, Bitcoin could go to $1 million. It could easily. I've heard a lot of forecasters out there right now saying it could go to 100,000 this very next year. But what about 2 years from now, when the central bank digital currency is in the process of hyperinflating? 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? Set a number. Who knows how high it could go? And then all of a sudden, you're going to see the death of the central bank digital currencies because they're not made to last. If you think paper currencies weren't made to last, a paper currency can last 40 years. How long will a central bank digital currency last? I don't give it 5 years. Okay? So, so we see a Bitcoin going up into the millions. A million. Say it goes to $1 million a coin. Okay? During that period in time of hyperinflation and people trying to get out of the central bank digital currency. What if the government were to do this? Now, this is what I want to know. I asked you the question at the start. Is this feasible? Could the government make a whole bunch of side chains? I know Bitcoin is running on a chain. It's a blockchain. There's a chain there. Okay? And right now it's getting piled full of data from transactions. The chain's getting larger and larger and larger. Okay? I got a question now. The question is, could the government make alt chains? Bitcoin alt chains. In other words, a separate chain. So that if you took your Bitcoin and you transferred it, you'd be transferring it from the main chain, which is where it is now, to an alternative chain run by the government. My question is, could they do that? And my next question is how many chains, alternative chains, could the government make? So just like, see, I used to play video games a lot, a few years ago. Not a lot, but I used to play, maybe for an hour a day or something, and I mean, and I don't play so much anymore, but I enjoyed, there was one particular game I enjoyed, and I think it was World of Warcraft or whatever, and not so much anymore. I don't play it anymore. I mean, I haven't played it in months, but here's the thing. In those games, they have what's called servers. And they'll have like a bunch of servers, like server A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. And you can look and see which server's getting overused. In other words, there's so many users on server A, so many users on server B, so many users, and you can select which server you want. The servers, if you can pick a server that has less people on it, less populated. Okay? So what if the government makes a whole bunch of these chains? They could make 100 Bitcoin chains. And you could transfer your Bitcoin that's on the main blockchain now over to their chain, and you could actually look on the internet and see how populated that particular chain was. So you could pick one, like say they had 100 chains, the government. And you could look in there automatically on the internet and see the ones that were marked green, in other words, low amount of usage. And you could see the ones that were orange and the ones that were red. And you wouldn't want to go to one that's red because it's being used too much. And you could transfer your coins over to that chain, and then the coins would be legitimate. And the government would say, hey, you know what? The original Bitcoin blockchain, it's illegitimate. You either transfer over to our new chains and get our new wallet that goes with the new chain, or your Bitcoin at a certain period in time will be valueless. We're going to end the main blockchain. They could even say we're ending it because it's just got too much data on it. And the new chains that they form, they could make them so that every 10 years they start to dump the data that's on the back end of the chain. In other words, if the blockchain gets too large, too much, they could make it so that it has a transfer time, so that it trims, pruning, chain pruning. They could put chain pruning on their chains, and they could have like 100 chains, and each chain could handle 7 transactions a second. So then immediately Bitcoin would move from 7 transactions a second to 700 transactions per second. And not only that, there's more. I'm going to guarantee you guys, when Bitcoin gets up to like $1 million, the transactions per second on the network is going to fall. There's going to be less transactions per second, not more. Even though Bitcoin is far more popular than everybody, it's all the buzzword. And there's a reason for that. It's because, just think about it. If Bitcoin was, say, $880,000, and the following week it was $996,000, would you go out and buy coffee with it? Or would you sit on it if it's going up that quick? Because it would be the most expensive cup of coffee you ever purchased. Not only would you have to pay the transaction fees, nobody's going to use it for that. Nobody's going to use it for small transactions. And as the Bitcoin price goes higher and higher, the transactions that they do use it for are going to get larger and larger and fewer. Okay? And so if the government just came out and said, hey, you know what, guys, if your blockchain is on the main blockchain past a certain date, say 6 months from now, it's over. Your coins are worthless. And here we have this new chain, and in order to transfer into your new wallet and the new chain, you just got to give us a certain amount of information and then transfer your coin over. Get your address of your new wallet and transfer into your new wallet from your old wallets. How many people do you think would go? And if the government meant business and they said, listen, we're doing this. You guys, if you leave your coins on this old blockchain, it's done. 6 months from now, your coins are valueless. You either transfer over into our new chains, and say they had 100 different chains. You could pick which one you want. You could pick, maybe they might name them after cities. Chicago chain. I don't know. Just talking. I'm just speculating. I'm just wondering if they could even do this. But if they could do this, I mean, think about it. Bitcoin's at $1 million. You transfer them over, then it would be the new reserve currency of the world. That's what it would be. I don't see where it wouldn't, because all of the world's money would start to go into it. People would start to use it as a form of payment into the alternative coins, which would become the used for daily payments. So basically, the way it would work is you would pick an alternative coin you like, and that would be accepted at your Walmart store or whatever. I don't know what it might be. Some other coin other than Bitcoin. And you'd transfer a little bit of your Bitcoin. Maybe your Bitcoin's worth $1 million. You might transfer 1%, which would be the equivalent of $10,000, into this altcoin that you wanted. You know? And then you would use that to purchase your stuff at Walmart or whatever. Some altcoin. And Bitcoin, though, would be like your savings account. And you wouldn't pay directly with your savings account. You'd be using these alternative coins, which would have their own alternative. So basically what's happening is a whole ecosystem of money. The internet of money is being created right under our nose with all these altcoins and Bitcoin at the top. And Bitcoin represents the savings, and all these other altcoins represent utility. Every different aspect of utility you can think of is represented in these altcoins. So these altcoins are not going to go away. They're going to vie for position. They're positioning themselves as to which ones are going to be valuable and which ones are just going to be. But I think that a good chunk of them, probably as many as 100 of them, will remain viable. And they're probably going to be the top altcoins, ones that position themselves now probably within the top 100. So don't go too far out on these coins. Don't buy coin number 843 or whatever, you know. You're getting too far away from the main stump of the cryptocurrency world, which is Bitcoin. Don't get too far away out in the limb from that stump. Stay as close as you can to that stump, you know, so your top coins. And Litecoin is one of those top coins. It's probably never going away, you know. In fact, I could see Litecoin vying for position and trying to get up higher in this ecosystem of these new cryptographic money. And I don't see, honestly, I do not see the central bank digital currencies lasting. 5 years is it. They're not going to get more than 5 years out of them. They're going to be gone. But because they're going to transfer these fiat currencies into the central bank digital currencies, that means the demise of the demise of fiat currencies is at hand. Thank you guys for listening to my show. And comment in the comment section. Tell me if that's feasible, if they could create separate chains for Bitcoin and have you transfer your Bitcoin over into a different chain. Because I don't know if they can actually do that or not. I'm just speculating at this point in time. Bye-bye, guys.